Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to have all of you here in remembrance of Win. Win was a part of the UF family for over 35 years. Today we're honored to be joined by much of his family. His sons, Sean and Steve, are in the front row, but he also has grandchildren. He is also called granddad and even great-grandfather. So thank you to the family for being here for this. Again, Win's sons, Stephen Phillips and Sean Phillips, they're going to speak in a moment. But I would also like the rest of the family, if you could, just rise so that we could recognize you, please. Thank you. Well, as I said, we're here to recognize Win's 3.5 decades of support and service to the University of Florida. No one, hardly anyone, has made so much difference for a university at such a crucial time. As I said, we have a lot of his family here, so in addition, again, Logan Phillips. I haven't met all the family yet. Are you Logan? Okay, good. Granddaughters, Camille Phillips, Claire Bowley, and grandson-in-law, Russell Bowley. So as I said, thank you for being a part of this. This will be a very special day. I also want to acknowledge Win's late wife, Betty Phillips, who all of us know in so many different ways. She was a provost from 1996 to 1999. And we also have Kathy Wilson. We can't go without recognizing her. She worked with Win for almost the entire 35 years. Kathy, thank you for being here too. I told Kathy I'd never met her in person, but she was always the one behind the Zoom call trying to help Win get on Zoom. So I felt like I got to know you pretty well. We also have other history makers with us here too. President Emeriti Ken Fox and Bernie Machen are here. President Sass was called out of town today, so he can't join us, but he has a video to leave with us here in just a few minutes. And you're also going to hear from another provost, senior advisor to the president, Joe Glover, who knew and worked closely with Win for over 20 years. And he served as the university's provost from 2008 to 2023. Well, Win's titles with the University of Florida have been many. Among them are Dean of the now Wertheim College of Engineering, the Dean of the Graduate School, Vice President for Research, President of the University Research Foundation, Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, and Executive Chief of Staff. And the one that I really found most memorable, because this really is a title of his, is the guy who made it all happen. This was actually an award that he got a couple years ago. What Win Phillips helped make happen was a billion-dollar research organization, truly one of the best in the country, the best students that you can find in the country, and our ability to reach out and make the state better. He had a role in all of that. He was the right guy at the right place and the right time. Win got here just a couple years after federal funding got off onto the right track, where we began to build our research portfolio. And from that, the Center of Innovation grew out of those efforts and now is one of the most significant parts of our university's ability to interact with the rest of the state. And maybe most memorable of all, he was the guy behind Gatorade when that first happened. He was sitting in the research seat at that time. Win was there at the infancy of what we now call Innovate, and he truly helped turbocharge this entire organization. He worked on the license, and he worked on our ability to share these technologies with others around the state and around the country. And those of us who work a lot in the research side still see this as one of his great legacies to the university. He brought the university through commercial activity out to the rest of the state and has made a profound difference on this state. Well, now we'd like to hear from some people who knew Win best. Dr. Ken Fox was UF's 12th president, serving from 2015 to 2023, and he was the 5th president to work with Win. So Ken, would you like to join us?
Well, I remember very clearly the first time I met Dr. Win Phillips. It was over lunch in the fall of 2014 during our university search for its next president, and I was a candidate in the search. And during lunch, Win was in full senior leader recruitment mode. As he had hundreds of times before with candidates for other positions, he shared with me how excellent the schools were in Gainesville and where we might want to live so our children could attend those schools. I remember politely interrupting Win, his recruitment speech, and reminding him that the university president lives in university housing and that our 4 children were grown and did not live with us. We both had a good laugh, and that was the beginning of our relationship, gently steering each other in the right direction, usually with him doing the steering when I was about to run off the road. After I was selected as president, Win was appointed by then chair of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Steve Scott, to oversee my transition and to watch over me during my first few months in Tigard Hall. I rapidly learned what everyone learns about Dr. Phillips, that he's extraordinarily gifted with the following attributes: incredible wisdom that comes with having successfully served in numerous leadership roles at our university and other universities, an understanding of UF, its strengths, its weaknesses, and potential, a love for our university, and a commitment to the university's success above his own personal ambition, and universal trust and admiration by his vast network of colleagues. I soon appointed Win as Executive Chief of Staff, and in that role, which he had for nearly 8 years, he solved innumerable problems before they reached my desk. He served as the president's representative on internal and external committees and task forces, particularly when I didn't want to serve, and he led university-wide initiatives. For example, in 2015, he led the university-wide strategic planning task force with faculty, students, staff, and alumni that was named the Decade Ahead. And it was he who crafted our university's overall aspiration that the University of Florida will be a premier university that the state, nation, and world look to for leadership. Before I conclude, I'd like to share one brief story about a connection that Win and I had before the University of Florida. Although we all know Win for his contributions to UF, he had already established himself as a national leader when President Marshall Chrysler met with Win in 1988 at the Delta Airlines Lounge in Atlanta to recruit him from Purdue University to lead UF's College of Engineering. And from 1980 to 1988, Win had been the head of Purdue's School of Mechanical Engineering. He was by then a national leader in fluid mechanics, particularly the fluid mechanics of the human body's cardiovascular system. And he had also published extensively on engineering education, on technology development, business leadership, and product liability issues. After Win left Purdue for UF, I became Purdue's head of the School of Electrical Engineering. Now, I remember just a few years ago sitting in Win's third-floor Tigard Hall office, bragging about my Purdue accomplishments and reminding Win that while he had been head of Purdue's second-largest department, mechanical engineering, I had been the head of Purdue's largest department, electrical engineering. He politely interrupted me, pointed to the wall in his office, and said, "Yes, but you don't have one of those." On Win's office wall was a framed scroll signed by the governor of the state of Indiana, appointing Dr. Winifred Phillips as Sagamore of the Wabash and Distinguished Hoosier, the highest honor the governor could bestow on a resident of the state of Indiana. Win received this honor due to a report that he wrote for the state of Indiana, which called into question the selection of new steam boilers for the state's K-12 schools. Win's report described the boilers as defective and susceptible to catastrophic explosion. His assessment was controversial in the state, and it could have gotten him removed from his head position at Purdue, but he was later shown to be right. That likely saved lives, and it indeed earned him his governor's appointment as Sagamore of the Wabash and Distinguished Hoosier. I conclude very simply by saying our university has lost a truly great leader. It is with immense affection and admiration that I acknowledge how much I'm indebted to Win, not only for what he accomplished on behalf of our university, but also for his personal friendship, his wise mentorship, and for always gently steering me and all of us in the right direction.
Thank you, President Fox. In 15 years as provost, Joe Glover helped us get to where we are now today with artificial intelligence. He gets a lot of credit for the phenomenal success that we have had in leading this important area for our state, our country, and our world. Joe, we're glad you're here. Would you come up and share some reflections as well?
Good afternoon. Win Phillips was a man of wit, compassion, and intelligence who deserves tremendous credit and recognition for his personal accomplishments and for helping propel UF from a sleepy Florida institution to a highly ranked national powerhouse. I had the privilege of working closely with Win for several decades. He was charming, clear-eyed, and clever, and perhaps even a little bit UF's bad boy of administration. Win's exploits are the stuff of legend, and at least one bears repeating one last time. UF's 10th president, Chuck Young, liked to gather his cabinet around the dinner table occasionally for a mix of socializing and work. At one such gathering, Win brought his dog to the president's house for exercise before dinner. Win was especially fond of one breed, the Kuvas. These are massive white dogs, fierce and fiercely loyal. After exercising the dog, Win left it in the car and came to dinner. During dinner, it was mentioned the Kuvas was outside in the car. Up jumped the president with a gaggle of vice presidents to go see. Yours truly, thankfully, remained at the dinner table. After about 5 minutes, the front door flew open and in ran the president with a bleeding hand. Turned out he had tried to pet the Kuvas by reaching through the car window, which the dog did not appreciate. The gaggle of vice presidents dragged back in sheepishly, with Win bringing up the rear. With a wry smile, Win said, "Well, I guess I need to find another job." But of course, Win did not. He went on to ride his Harley motorcycle on weekends with the 11th president, Bernie Machen, until they decided to hang up their spurs. Not surprisingly, being an engineer, Win was fond of machinery and owned a Corvette, although he often remarked that he had bought the only Corvette in history that depreciated over time rather than appreciated. Yes, Win was a mechanical engineer through and through. Several years ago, he began to lose weight and was considering how to readjust his belts to keep his pants aloft. I suggested that he might like to try suspenders and gave him a new pair. Perhaps my mistake was that I didn't offer any instructions on their use. Win considered the problem that this new apparatus presented and decided he would try them out by gluing them to one pair of his pants. He was not impressed by them, and I never saw that pair of suspenders again. Win helped me through many a crisis, and I dare say I helped him with one or two. But while he was a genius in many things, he needed help with puzzling chores like buying a new iPhone, dealing with city utilities, or making telephone calls. For these and many other essentials, he relied on Kathy Wilson, his assistant for nearly 4 decades. When discussing problems in Win's office, it was always important to leave his door open and to speak loudly enough so Kathy could hear the conversation and launch into action as Win's work partner, support team, and friend. UF owes Win a tremendous debt of gratitude for his tireless devotion to the welfare of the university. As everyone knows, Win came to UF as Dean of Engineering and subsequently became Vice President for Research and Dean of the Graduate School. But it was the way Win cheerfully took on jobs wherever he was needed that set him apart from lesser academic leaders. This included stints as Interim Chief Operating Officer of the university and, much to Win's own amazement, as Interim Vice President for Student Life. Win thought he was one of the least qualified people at the university to take on that second job, but I knew better. And he devoted his considerable talents to reorganizing and improving the division of student life. He concluded his administrative career at UF, serving as special assistant to the president and as a member of the university's executive council. At Kent's request, Win took on what might have been his most trying and delicate assignment, chairing and managing the Presidential Task Force on African American and Native American History and the University of Florida. I'm sure he thanks you for that, Kent. The task force report will stand as one of his most enduring contributions, although by no means his most significant. In each of his roles, Win always inquired about people's comfort, safety, stress levels, and job satisfaction. During the last year or so, each of his emails to me ended with the admonition to be safe. He remained curious about the state of the world, people's motivations, and how society evolved to the peculiar situation we all find ourselves in. While a professional engineer, he was a wonderful amateur mathematician and delighted in every article I sent him from the New York Times about mathematics. If I were to write a book of the 10 most amazing and accomplished people I have known, Win would certainly have one of the chapters. I will miss his wise counsel, his good humor, and his presence, as will we all. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And now please turn your attention to the screens for a remembrance from President Sass.
Colleagues, team, friends, family members, Gators. Melissa and I trust that today's remembrance is one worthy of the respect and honor that Win Phillips' distinguished life and career deserve. When my family joined Gator Nation last spring, one of the very first things people told me to do was a simple directive. You gotta go pick Win Phillips' mind. I learned then what many of you have long known. We all continue to benefit from his work and his legacy every day. Win held a wide-ranging set of skills and responsibilities, incredible versatility as a leader. He had deep knowledge of this place, and he helped steer the ship so that other leaders, other faculty members, researchers, and staff could go out and guide UF to making even greater change in the world. I've also learned that Win was sought after by many for his dispassionate advice. He was pressed into service to lead very different elements of this special university because he was so dang good at listening to and guiding people. He was admired for his brain and beloved for his heart. Today's dynamic, top-tier UF is way beyond the one Win joined way back in 1988, thanks in no small measure to his work here. It takes many hands to become a top-notch university, but Win's work unquestionably helped shepherd UF's rise, the single greatest climb in the rankings of any university in the history of the rankings. He helped change the unit of measurement for UF's funded research from the millions to the billions. He was a prime mover in populating our 2,000-plus acre campus with facilities that are as advanced as they are breathtaking. And most of all, Win set the stage for even bigger leaps by the radically practical yet elite UF of today. He'll be missed, but he'll always remain a part of UF's story. Win leaves a big legacy, and Gator Nation will always be grateful to him. And so, to Win's family, Sean and Stephen, I hope you feel the support and the love and the gratitude of Gator Nation today. Your dad made an amazing impact on this special place. As an expression of our gratitude to your dad and to your family, Provost Engel will now present a special memento in his honor.
As President Sass just mentioned, we would like to present to you a memento for you to keep in remembrance of your father. This photo is of your father at his retirement in 2022, where he received the Presidential Medallion. Framed with this photo is a replica of the medallion your father received and so richly deserved. Steve and Sean, well, thank you for sharing, you and your family, for sharing your father with us for so many years. We would like to ask you to come back up, and if you've got any comments that you would like to make, now would be a perfect time.
Okay. All right. Bernie, Bart, Marcus, Henry, Smokey, Bridget, and Bailey. For those of you close to my dad, you know that these are the names of Dad's pets, with Bernie being his first Kuvaz dog beginning in the late 70s. If you know Dad, you also know that Dad loved his animals. In fact, he mourned the loss of any animal, including the squirrels brought through the dog door by Smokey the cat into the house. Dad loved animals, and he was pretty fond of people too. Dad was guided in every way by doing what is best for all people. This, of course, created challenges because he defined what is best for all people with determination and did not hesitate to speak his mind on these matters. I see from the obituary released by the University of Florida that many in this room have experienced Dad's determination by what was said in the obituary. Since the love of Dad's life, Betty Capaldi Phillips, passed in 2018, I spoke with Dad almost every day. I enjoyed his stories of the many challenges he faced at work. He loved his work. He loved the people at University of Florida. If there is ever a person that is suited to reincarnate as a Florida Gator, it's probably my dad. I feel that if my dad had the time to figure out what he would want to be said after his passing, he would say, do everything you do with all the people in mind. For him, this university was always about the students and their education. Creating a world-class institution was always for the benefit of the students so that they could go in the world and make the world a better place. Lastly, I will say to my dad, Win, Dr. Phillips, Dean Phillips, Professor Emeritus Phillips, Grandpa and Great-Grandpa, you are loved and will truly be missed.
Thank you to all the speakers for the kind words about our father. I remember way back some pretty lean times in married student housing in Charlottesville, Virginia. We have somebody who was actually there with us. And in an apartment in the first year in State College, Pennsylvania, where we watched the moon landing, like the moon landing, on television, a black and white 12-inch cathode ray tube model. When we were growing up, our father instilled in us appreciation for hard work, investing in the future, and respecting the perspectives and opinions of other people. At Penn State, he transformed his research from aerospace to biomedical engineering, where he made early contributions to artificial heart and ventricular assist device research. At his academic leadership accelerated at Purdue, as you heard, and you've already heard about his many contributions here at University of Florida. As I pursued my own academic career, I've always had an expert advisor. Since Betty died, we spoke almost every single day. And while we discussed many details about academic leadership, he often reminded me to take the long view and take the broad view. Strive to help to benefit the broadest possible population for the longest possible time. As a reflection of this, Sean and I have established an endowment fund with the UF Foundation in Wynn's name to support engineering graduate students. We're pleased to hear about all the things that our father has done to have impact on so many people. And I'll just close with, I miss you, Dad. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve and Sean, for being with us today. And to thank you all for being here with us today for this beautiful event. We'd request, or if you would like to stay a bit, if you would like to enjoy the fellowship of the university community and the family. Help yourself to some refreshments, which I believe are just outside. And we would appreciate it if you would sign a guest book as well as you leave today. Neither Win nor the family requested offerings in his memory. However, if you feel so inspired or the need to do so, you may contribute to a cause that Win cared deeply about, recruitment and retention of graduate students in the College of Engineering. So please see the note in your program on how to do this if you so feel moved. Thanks again for being here today. Thank you to the family for allowing us to share so much with Win. And go Gators!